Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, finds himself on the brink of a profound personal and social collapse. He now faces the stark reality of being not only distanced from royal life, but potentially estranged from the very people who've remained loyal to him, his daughters. This situation extends beyond the loss of titles or public roles. Warning suggests that he may soon face the ultimate loss, the bond with the only family members who have consistently stood by him, unless he dramatically changes course. Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to our channel, where we take an in-depth look at the lives, struggles, and legacies of Royal the King News. Today, we explore a story that is as cautionary as it is heartrending. Before we dive into the details of this unfolding situation within the House of Windsor, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support allows us to continue producing these detailed analyses for fellow royal enthusiasts and history buffs. The year 2025 was anticipated as a transitional period for the monarchy, a time when King Charles III's streamlined vision of the royal family would take shape. For Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, however, it has become a far darker chapter, a year of reckoning. Over recent years, the Duke has gradually been stripped of his military roles, royal patronages, and the right to be addressed as His Royal Highness. He's been sidelined in official portraits, cropped from key public appearances, and excluded from balcony ceremonies once dominated by the late Queen's so-called favorite son. Though his finances remain largely intact, the pressure is closing in on his personal life in ways that are both intimate and suffocating. A striking warning recently surfaced in the Express UK. In a piece by royal commentator Jasmine Carey, Carey portrays a grim picture of a man who's already lost much in the public eye and now risks losing what may be his last refuge, his connection to his daughters. The Duke has long been embroiled in a bitter dispute over Royal Lodge, his expansive 30-room residence in Windsor Great Park, yet Carey suggests the potential loss of property may pale in comparison to what could come next. His daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, their position within the family is delicate and crucial. For years, they have served as a bridge between their father and the rest of the royal household. While King Charles and Prince William have reportedly remained firm in their stance that Andrew will not return to public life, Beatrice and Eugenie have remained steadfast in private family support, attending events like the traditional Christmas Day walk to St. Mary Magdalene Church in Sandringham, a quiet but visible show of loyalty. Their loyalty is more than mere familial affection. It is a careful balancing act. Every public appearance alongside their father carries reputational risk. As professional women with public profiles of their own, they lend him a protective shield of social capital, signaling to the world, "He is still our father, and we love him." But that shield is showing signs of strain. Recent reports suggest that Andrew has been pressing his daughters to attend as many royal engagements as possible, whether garden parties, charity galas, or family weddings. From his perspective, their visibility maintains his link to the royal institution he has largely been shut out from. Beatrice and Eugenie, by attending these events, act as proxies, keeping him connected to the crown through their social presence. Yet, this strategy carries risks. Over-reliance on their participation may strain relationships and expose cracks in the loyalty that has been his last line of defense. Asterisk at its core, this story reflects universal themes: the challenges of family loyalty, the perils of self-interest, and the difficulty of letting go of a past that no longer exists. It's a reminder that even within the grandeur of royal palaces, the most important things aren't titles, estates, or leases, but the relationships we cultivate and the trust we preserve with those closest to us. There is also a practical, financial dimension to consider. King Charles is acutely aware of the UK's cost of living crisis and understands that the public has little patience for funding the lifestyle of a non-working royal in a sprawling 30-room mansion. By encouraging Andrew to move to Frogmore Cottage, the king signals that he is responsible with the monarchy's resources. Andrew's reluctance, however, makes him appear out of touch and entitled, complicating Beatrice and Eugenie's efforts to support him. The princesses are essentially being asked to defend the indefensible. Why their father should remain in a palace he cannot maintain while much of the country struggles. Every time they are perceived as Team Andrew in the Royal Lodge dispute, They risk their own independence and public credibility. Looking at the Duke of York today, one wonders, does he recognize the precariousness of his daughter's positions with the king and the public? Or is his desire for recognition so consuming that he overlooks the damage to the very people who remain loyal to him? His focus on lost status may be blinding him to the needs of the children who are still present. A path toward peace exists, but it demands humility. Andrew would need to step back entirely, accept Frogmore Cottage, and allow his daughters to live free from the weight of his ambitions. In doing so, he would embrace the role of a private citizen, a daunting shift for someone born a prince of the United Kingdom. We invite our community to weigh in. Is Andrew unfairly relying on his daughters to maintain his royal connection? Or are Beatrice and Eugenie willingly supporting him out of duty? Do you agree with King Charles's decision to move Andrew from Royal Lodge as part of modernizing the monarchy, or does it feel too harsh for a brother to impose on another brother? Is reconciliation possible, or has the bridge been burned? Could Andrew still find a quiet, private redemption, or has public patience run out? This is a complex situation, intertwining legal disputes, family dynamics, and the future of a centuries-old institution. Your perspectives help illuminate all sides of these stories. Some of you have followed this family for decades, offering unique insights into the evolving monarchy. Jasmine Carey warns that this strategy could backfire with severe consequences. While the notion that the Duke might be using his daughters to maintain influence within the palace remains officially unverified, its potential implications are alarming. Carey emphasizes that if Andrew starts seeing his daughters not as children but as tools for rehabilitating his image or as ears to monitor family dynamics, the bond of trust between them will inevitably fracture. This issue goes far beyond public relations. It strikes at the core of the parent-child relationship. Consider the immense psychological strain this places on the princesses. Beatrice and Eugenie are women in their 30s with families, careers, and reputations of their own. Beatrice is a mother to young Sienna and a devoted stepmother to Wolfie, while Eugenie is raising August and Ernest, navigating the demands of modern parenthood under intense public scrutiny. They are working to build independent, respected lives apart from the scandals that have long surrounded their family, being asked to act as a conduit for information, reporting back on private conversations with the king, or perhaps more insidiously on what the family isn't saying about their father, puts them in an impossible position. Routine family interactions are turned into intelligence-gathering missions. Imagine the exhaustion of attending a royal event, only to return home knowing you'll be grilled about who you spoke with, the atmosphere, and whether there's an opening for your father's return. Even casual moments with King Charles or Prince William risk being tainted, shifting from genuine family connections to strategic briefings. This dynamic strips the princesses of agency and transforms their relationships into transactional obligations. Carey's critique is especially striking when she frames the possibility of Andrew treating his daughters as personal spies. The term may sound extreme, but it captures the Machiavellian nature of court life, where information is power. If the Duke expects them to measure the king's mood or influence family opinions on his behalf during what should be relaxed private gatherings, he is effectively weaponizing their love for him. He forces them into an impossible choice: loyalty to their father versus loyalty to the sovereign, a burden no child should bear, particularly in the high-stakes environment of the British monarchy. The writer's stance is clear. They are daughters, not operatives, and never asked to be put in this position. This resonates with anyone watching from the outside. It is fundamentally unfair to saddle children with the consequences of a parent's missteps, especially mistakes as serious as those associated with the Duke of York. Beatrice and Eugenie have navigated their father's turbulent years with grace and discretion, remaining loyal while maintaining cordial relationships with King Charles and Prince William, despite underlying tensions. Yet every individual has limits. Carey likens their position to being piggy in the middle, a phrase that, while rooted in a playground game, here evokes a decades-long psychological tug-of-war. On one side is a father who feels wronged, isolated, and entitled to reclaim his previous life. On the other is an institution focused on protecting its survival and reputation, keeping Andrew at a distance. No one would want to live caught between these forces indefinitely, where even family conversations are shadowed by the knowledge that every detail might be reported to a parent waiting at home. If the daughters sense that their presence at royal events is being directed or debriefed for their father's benefit, loyalty will eventually give way to resentment. Love is powerful, but it has limits when exploited. The broader context of 2025 intensifies this tension. The king is reportedly tightening finances and restructuring the royal estate with unprecedented rigor, including plans to evict Andrew from Royal Lodge. For context, Royal Lodge has deep historical significance. Having been the cherished home of the Queen Mother, Andrew moved in after her passing in 2002, investing around $7.5 million of his own money into the property. Andrew undertook extensive renovations to Royal Lodge and signed a 75-year lease in 2003, believing it guaranteed him an unassailable right to remain there. Yet now, with King Charles as landlord, the lease terms are under intense scrutiny. Many Crown Estate leases include clauses requiring tenants to maintain the property to a certain standard. If Andrew cannot afford the annual upkeep, which runs into hundreds of thousands of pounds, he could be found in breach of contract. The king has already made a highly public move by cutting off Andrew's private security allowance, a cost previously estimated in the millions of pounds from the privy purse. Without that support, and with his income diminished now that he no longer undertakes royal duties, maintaining this sprawling 30-room estate has become increasingly challenging. Recent images of Royal Lodge show clear signs of neglect: peeling paint, damp patches on exterior walls, and overgrown gardens. For King Charles, a passionate advocate for architecture and heritage preservation, witnessing a crown property fall into disrepair is likely frustrating. This has intensified pressure for Andrew to move to the smaller, more modest Frogmore Cottage, the former home of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. The issue extends beyond mere real estate or square footage. It is symbolic. Relocating to Frogmore would publicly signal that Andrew is no longer a senior royal. Amid this backdrop of loss and perceived humiliation, Andrew's dependence on his daughters has grown. Losing Royal Lodge would strip him of his primary base and his last tangible connection to the grandeur of his mother's reign. Losing their unwavering support would be an even deeper emotional blow. Warnings from insiders suggest that Andrew's ego and lingering desire for royal relevance may blind him to the strain he is placing on Beatrice and Eugenie. Though he may see his actions as defending his family, he risks harming the very relationships he claims to protect. Public perception adds another layer of pressure. A generation that grew up following the royal family retains sympathy for the daughters, remembering them as young girls navigating their parents' very public divorce. Over time, they have matured into poised professional women. If Andrew continues to draw them into his struggles, he risks alienating not just his children, but the last vestiges of public goodwill toward the York family. Observers may stop seeing Beatrice and Eugenie as innocent bystanders and instead view them as complicit in their father's refusal to step aside. Being a non-working royal while remaining part of the family is a precarious balancing act. Beatrice and Eugenie are self-supporting. Beatrice works in tech as a strategist, Eugenie is an art gallery director. In many ways, they exemplify what a modern, streamlined monarchy could look like: royals with heritage who are financially independent, appearing only for major family events. Yet their father's lingering influence complicates their lives. Every time they are seen with the king, speculation arises that they might be advocating for Andrew. Every visit to Royal Lodge prompts questions about whether they are aiding his efforts to hold ground. Past experiences have also left a mark. Beatrice was reportedly involved in the lead-up to Andrew's ill-fated Newsnight interview, a decision she deeply regrets. She witnessed firsthand how a personal desire to clear his name led to disaster. Now she faces pressure again, this time behind the scenes, where the stakes are just as high. She knows her father's judgment regarding his own reputation can be flawed, and being used as a conduit for him places her and Eugenie in a vulnerable position. King Charles and Prince William are known to fiercely protect the monarchy's inner circle, especially after various tell-all books and documentaries have exposed family dynamics. If they perceive that Beatrice or Eugenie are passing information to Andrew or being manipulated to influence the king, the sisters could be excluded entirely. This would represent a tragic outcome, the father's actions jeopardizing the daughters' connection to the royal family entirely. Any potential exile for Andrew would be won by association. Central to this story is Sarah Ferguson, The Duchess of York. Although she and Andrew have been divorced for decades, they continue to share royal lodge, maintaining a relationship that has long intrigued and puzzled royal observers. Fergie has been an outspoken defender of Andrew, yet in recent years, she has worked tirelessly to regain favor with the royal family, even being invited to participate in the Christmas walk during the Easter service. She knows better than anyone how isolating it can be on the outside. One can only speculate about the conversations happening behind the closed doors of Royal Lodge. Is she cautioning Andrew to proceed carefully? Or is she herself ensnared in the complicated web of loyalty and survival? Her own health struggles, having battled both breast and skin cancer, have added another layer of vulnerability to the York family dynamic. Sarah often describes her family as a tripod: Andrew, herself, and their 2 daughters. But a tripod requires all 3 legs to remain stable. Should Andrew's actions alienate his daughters, the whole structure risks collapse. Sarah's presence at Royal Lodge also complicates matters. If Andrew is forced to leave, what happens to her? Her fate is tightly intertwined with his, adding further urgency to his fight to retain the home. He is not just defending his own room. He is defending the residence of his ex-wife and the place where his grandchildren play. Jasmine, Carrie's warning essentially urges Andrew toward a form of radical acceptance. He must come to terms with the fact that his time as an active frontline royal is over. He must recognize that his daughters are not strategic assets or political representatives, but his children. True love, the argument goes, means shielding them from royal drama rather than drawing them into it. He should be fostering independent relationships between them and the King or Prince William, untainted by his own grievances and legal battles. There is historical precedent for this kind of royal exile. Edward, the Duke of Windsor, spent decades in France, trapped in a gilded cage, endlessly negotiating his return to the court and obsessing over titles and protocol. Like Edward, Andrew risks a slow descent into irrelevance, consumed by what he has lost rather than what he still retains. Looking ahead to the rest of 2025, the stakes for the House of York are immense. Andrew's losses are already substantial: his career, reputation, military honors, and public dignity. The likely loss of Royal Lodge looms as the king's patience wanes and the estate becomes financially burdensome. But the ultimate heartbreak would be losing his relationship with Beatrice and Eugenie. This would leave him a titled man with a home but no familial connection, a prince with a palace. But no peace stopped the potential estrangement from his grandchildren is perhaps the most painful aspect. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are raising the next generation. Any rupture would deprive Andrew not only of his daughters but of his connection to Sienna, August, and Ernest. His absence would mean missing out on the everyday joys of grandfatherhood and the chance to support the York legacy, which truly rests with these children. By creating stress for their mothers, he indirectly affects their upbringing. It is a real-life Shakespearean tragedy. A man who once held immense power, who was a decorated war hero and global ambassador for the British Empire, now finds himself fighting for remnants of his former life. Yet in this struggle, he risks harming those who have remained loyal when few others did. Loyalty is reciprocal, and if Andrew continues to demand it from his daughters without offering them protection in return, the relationship will eventually fracture. The warning is clear. Using his daughters as pawns in his royal chess game will ultimately leave him isolated. Beatrice and Eugenie will prioritize their own peace, their marriages, and their children's futures. They have legacies to build, and constant entanglement in past scandals jeopardizes that. The contrast between the Yorks and the Waleses becomes starkly apparent here. While one family strives to move forward, the other risks being trapped by history. William and Princess Catherine are focused on the future, on early childhood initiatives, environmental advocacy, and preparing Prince George for his eventual role, while the York family seems trapped in a cycle of legal battles and damage control. This contrast is not lost on King Charles, who envisions a monarchy that looks ahead rather than one repeatedly dragged back into the controversies of the 1990s. And 2010 South, this situation reflects universal themes that resonate beyond the monarchy: the complexity of family loyalty, the hazards of self-interest, and the difficulty of letting go of a past that no longer exists. Even within the grandeur of royal palaces, the most important assets aren't the rooms, leases, or titles, they are the relationships we cultivate and the trust we maintain with those closest to us. Financial realities also play a role in this dynamic. A leaner monarchy is necessary in the context of the UK's cost of living crisis, and King Charles is mindful of public sentiment regarding funding for royals who do not work yet maintain lavish residences. By encouraging Andrew to move to Frogmore Cottage, the king signals that he is listening and managing the crown's resources responsibly. Andrew's reluctance, however, reinforces an image of entitlement, making it increasingly difficult for Beatrice and Eugenie to defend him. They are being asked to justify their father's continued occupancy of a palace at a time when much of the country is struggling, an expectation that places them in conflict with the public whose goodwill they rely on for their own charitable and professional endeavors. The question arises: what is Prince Andrew thinking as he looks over Royal Lodge? Does he recognize the precariousness of his daughter's positions, or is his desire for acknowledgement blinding him to the consequences of his actions? Is he so focused on reclaiming a royal status that he overlooks the impact on the children who remain loyal to him? A path toward resolution exists, but it requires humility. It would mean Andrew stepping aside, moving to Frogmore Cottage, and allowing his daughters to live their lives free from the weight of his ambitions, fully embracing life as a private citizen. For someone born a prince, this may be the most daunting transition of all. We invite you to reflect on this complex scenario. Is Prince Andrew unfairly leaning on his daughters to maintain his royal connection, or are Beatrice and Eugenie willingly supporting him out of duty? Do you view King Charles's decision to relocate Andrew as a necessary modernization step or as an excessively harsh act between siblings? Is reconciliation possible, or has the opportunity passed? Should Andrew be afforded a chance at quiet redemption, or has patience run out? This is a multifaceted issue, touching on family dynamics, legal contracts, and the future of a centuries-old institution. Your insights enrich the conversation, offering perspectives that only longtime observers of the monarchy can provide. Do you think Beatrice and Eugenie may eventually need to distance themselves for their own well-being? What would you do if you were in their position? If you found this analysis thought-provoking, please like and share this video. It helps more people discover these stories and supports the growth of our community. Subscribe for updates as we continue monitoring this situation. From the latest legal developments surrounding Royal Lodge to ongoing family dynamics within the House of Windsor, we'll continue to cover the public appearances of the York princesses and provide updates as they happen. Our goal is to deliver the facts, offer context, and share the personal stories behind the headlines. Until then, take care of yourselves and one another. Remember, even at the highest levels of power, family is what truly matters. This concludes our report on the Duke of York's final warning. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned for more detailed royal insights coming your way soon. Farewell for now.